Sequelitis is a series where I take a game I like and speculate about a potential sequel to that game. Sometimes a game I've discussed is confirmed to be getting a sequel, and sometimes it is simply wishful thinking on my part. Either way, my video will discuss what my ideas for a sequel would look like, covering a wide swath of relevant factors, and some predictions on what a sequel will actually be like if one is forthcoming. These videos are my opinion only, and are mainly for entertainment purposes and to spark discussion. With all that cleared up, let's get into the video. So far with the games I've discussed in this series, I think all of them have a pretty reasonable chance of happening, either because they've been confirmed, or simply educated guesswork. This game, though, unfortunately does not have that same security. But then again, I would have said that about Valkyria Chronicles 4, and that still miraculously happened. Yes, today I'm heading back to the great Valkyria Chronicles games, a series that has somehow lasted despite its inconsistency on platform and localization. Given all that, a fifth game may seem iffy, but I did see hints in Valkyria Chronicles 4 indicating a direction I think the developers want to go in if such a game did happen. If you need a refresher on what the Valkyria Chronicles games are about, I have videos on both the first and fourth games in the series, so go ahead and check those out in the description. From here on out, though, I will presume you know the basic structure and style of the games, and you are on spoiler warning code red. I repeat, spoiler warning code red. The European wars of the previous games of the series are unsubtly based off of the World Wars, mainly the second one. However, they have focused entirely on the European front of that World War without much thought of the Pacific conflict happening at the same time. At least, until the character Azusa came into the picture in Valkyria Chronicles 4. Azusa Tsukikage is a soldier in Squad E from an eastern nation, obviously, given her name, a fictionalized Japan. She initially joins the army as a spy of that nation, but eventually chooses to embark on her own path of life during her squad story. The most relevant part of her storyline, though, is the final part of her biography. She eventually returns home after reports of relations souring between her homeland and Vinland. Some say another great war is on the horizon. As we learn through Riley's backstory, Vinland is the shortened title of the United States of Vinland, the game's equivalent of the United States of America. Tensions between fictionalized Japan and the US, another great war on the horizon. It's easy to see why people have pointed to this as an indication that maybe the series is heading eastward, and I'm inclined to agree. Therefore, I'm going to proceed under the assumption that Valkyria Chronicles 5 would take place in a war between Vinland and the unnamed Japanese-esque country, with the player taking control of a squad from Vinland. If this is the direction they're going to go, though, this could mean a huge shift for the series if they stick to the historical background of World War II. The Pacific War obviously had some climactic moments of infantry land battles, with the famous Battle of Iwo Jima being a land battle mostly. The majority of the war, though, was fought in the sea and sky, and some of you might be seeing where I'm going with this. The game has already had tanks as a small part of gameplay. I don't think it's much of a stretch for this style of combat to then be used for ship warfare. Air battles wouldn't work as well with the Blitz system, but boats definitely could, and it would be amazing if you could command ships around the battlefield. To make this not a complete overhaul of the series, combat system, and characters, the regular squad could be the equivalent of Marines, storming beaches on islands and such to keep land battles a big part of the game. Occasionally, though, you'd be required to engage in naval battles as well, where you command your battleships, destroyers, aircraft carriers, etc. to move about the battle instead of individual units. This could vary up mission variety, such as escorting your landing ship to the island you mean to capture, and add new wrinkles and challenges to gameplay. I really wouldn't be surprised if this is the way the developers would go about it. This could revolutionize the series and open it up to new ways to explore combat and warfare. If they do make this change, though, I think it's unlikely that much else would change with classes, upgrades, and other such stuff. They have a good formula that I think they'll stick with if the series proceeds further. Some other quick-hit gameplay changes that I would like to see in a Valkyria Chronicles 5 starts with adjusting the mission reward system. The speed-based reward system reduces the amount of strategic options a player can use in-game. Now, Valkyria Chronicles 4 was better at this than the first game, but there are still limitations to that system. I doubt the system will change, but I hope they'd give more flexibility to the system, perhaps giving players a choice of a tactical goal for the mission, some of which could be speed-based, others defensive, and others aggressive, so you can choose what style you want to play in to get more experience and money. Next would be nerfing the power of orders, not removing them, but simply making the boosts less effective, so it makes it so you can't just use one unit to clear a map. You must utilize the whole squad. Again, a change I find unlikely, but would balance the game better in my opinion. I'd also be interested in a return of class changing from Valkyria Chronicles 3, which would add more customizability to your squad, although with some restrictions on the number of units in a class you can have, so you don't just get a squad of 20 scouts. The morale system from Valkyria Chronicles 3 is also a potential addition for future games, so if they decide to go that route, I would be fine with it. Story-wise, there's a lot of rich material on the historical side to focus on for a fictionalized Japan-US war, including, but not limited to, surprise attacks, e.g. Pearl Harbor, internment camps, and the nuclear bomb, the Valkyria in this series. The game could easily continue the moral dilemmas presented in Valkyria Chronicles 4 through these same historical moral dilemmas. Vinland, the likely good guys of such a game, have already shown a ruthless morality at times, which would undoubtedly unsettle our protagonists at points. Speaking of protagonists, I'd love to see the military tactician strategist slash protagonist of this game be a woman. There have been prominent women characters in all 4 games thus far, but I think it's time to give over command of the tank specifically to a woman to lead the squad. This offers the opportunity to explore sexism as part of her character arc, and since Valkyria Chronicles has had long discussions on racism, among other sensitive topics thus far, I think it's a good next step for them. Visually and musically, there's not much I would change. With the potential for more ocean and island-based combat, I'd be excited how that comes out in the art. I love the art style of the Valkyria Chronicles games, and I think the ocean scenery could look especially good in it. It just wouldn't feel like a Valkyria Chronicles game without that canvas design. I also would love to see how the composers tackle a new setting to maybe liven up the music choices a little. Now, if SEGA is planning on making another Valkyria Chronicles game, it might be a while off. Hopefully not another 7-year-long wait, but with the developers moving on to the Sequelitis series next, it might be a little while until they get back to Valkyria Chronicles. While the initial release date for New Sakura Wars was in March of 2019, there has been very little to show that it will still release then, with sources suggesting late 2019 or even 2020 as the new expected timeframe. Given the soon arrival of next-generation consoles likely for PlayStation and Xbox, and the possibility of an upgraded version of the Switch, the complications of working with a new set of consoles could push VC5 back even further. If it does happen and work comes soon on the heels of New Sakura Wars, I would say early to mid-2021 at the earliest. However, given all the unknowns on that, it might come even later than that. It's okay though. Us Valkyria fans are accustomed to waiting at this point. Valkyria Chronicles 4 appeared to revive a dead series, but it's still unsure if that was a temporary revival or not. My hope is that it was not temporary and they'll come back with some new ideas and lessons learned. Please, Sega, don't put De Novo in it. It does more damage than good, which isn't difficult because De Novo does no good. I have a great deal of affection for this series, and I hope it continues into the future. The series has a lot of avenues still to explore, and I hope they'll be given the chance to do so. Now, if you excuse me, I've just started Valkyria Chronicles 3 because I heard all the good things about it, and I want to get back to it. Let me know if you think Valkyria Chronicles 4 will be the last game of the series, or if it will continue, and your thoughts on what they should do for number 5, if/when it comes. Also, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and watching more of my videos. I hope you have a great day, and happy gaming!